Hello, it's Steve again, and I am in windy but sunny Peru. Not the country, but the town in Indiana, northern Indiana to be exact. And I am at the Peru Skatepark, or as the city calls it, their extreme sports complex. At what is, I believe, one of the very first skate parks that Hunger Skateparks built. And I think this was built back in 2013, 2014 timeframe. Could be totally wrong on that, but it's been here for a while. And as you'll see, this skate park's obstacles are quite different than some of Hunger's more recent builds. And I think that's largely due to the fact that Hunger has improved what they've designed and built over time. As have skate park preferences. So we're going to see this park up close, and if you're ever in northern Indiana near the city of Peru, you can come check it out. All right, we're going to start in the top left hand corner, or I guess this should be the northeast corner. That's what I should say. And at this very top, we've got a little downhill street section. And so you see here, we've got a little bit of a wall ride bank with a 2-stair into a smaller little kicker, or 3-stair, depending on how you want to describe that. That could easily be skated as a Euro gap as well. And then on this side, you have a little bump to ledge that's about curb height. Maybe towards the end, it's closer to 10 or 12 inches. And then you have a down square rail that is, I would guess, about 10 feet long. It's certainly wide enough to lock trucks onto. So you'll see that. Nice and easy to lock into, nice and long, but could be a little bit hectic to skate depending on your footing. So if you're skating it as a regular footed skater and going backside, you'll notice that this little bump to ledge thing that's almost like a transition, like a little quarter pipe, goes out far enough to where you might feel like you're too high over the rail. So something to keep an eye on, but nevertheless, you can make something of it. And then over here, we have 2 more rails, one of which skates like a bump to bar in one direction. This thing is about 2 feet tall and about 6 feet long as an out rail, and then about 10 feet down as a long handrail. And then you've got what's close to handrail height circle rail that could be kind of gnarly to skate. And this thing is well over 2 feet tall, almost 2.5 feet tall would be my estimate. And yeah, you could skate either one of these rails. Then you wind up at a bank, and this bank has a curb at the top of it with metal coping. This bank, I would say, is about 4 feet tall. So you do need to carry some speed to skate this as a curb at the top, but you do have that option. Then you've got this little 3-foot bank hip thing that kind of slopes up like a quarter, although you notice probably right away that there's no coping on it. So a little bit more challenging to skate, but you could float it if you're that kind of skater. And then, of course, you've got the banked curb going off at about a 45-degree angle in the other direction. So that basically covers the northern part of the skate park. But as I circle back around, you'll notice that I went past this other embankment part that has coping on it, so you can almost skate it like a spine. Well, you can skate it like a spine, I should say, and it's really mellow. So you can get pretty creative with something like this. I think it's actually a pretty interesting element of the skate park, and it's something worth checking out. As I go back over, got this whole banked section here, and there's another bank to curb. Now, I think Hunger realized over time that the preference was to just have curbs at the top of banks instead of kind of set in the middle of them. And And so curb skating has kind of evolved a little bit as well. So you probably won't see something like this anywhere else. But you do have a 8-foot long curb that's pretty well ground down to skate as well. And the bank is super mellow. And then you have this other bank to wall ride that really is pretty easy to get up onto just because both are sloped. So it almost skates kind of like a quarter pipe that you can do wall rides and stuff like that. Next, in the flat bottom area, you kind of have a jumble of elements, a little wedge to get up on them as well. But you do have a circle flat bar that's about 12 feet long and 14 inches tall, and then a box as well. It's about 12 or 14 inches tall that is narrow enough to be board slid. Then you have this picnic table bump thing. I think it's supposed to be like a picnic table that is about 2.5 feet tall or so, with bumps on each side that you can get up onto. You can also skate it from flat if you have that kind of pop. And then a 10-inch manual pad on the other side of it that gives you some options. Then you have this kicker to kicker over the rock gap with a bench next to it. So it gives, I think this is especially good for beginners who've never skated a bump to bump before. But you've got about I would say about a 2.5 foot wide gap, almost 3 feet. Well, yeah, let's call it 3 feet. 3 foot wide gap across that gives you some options for tricks and putting a line together, and of course the 16-inch box next to it that is roughly 12 feet long. Another cool feature is this bank to rock. They put a giant boulder in and you can wall right up onto it. Not perfectly smooth, which is kind of the point, but you know, if you want something a little bit unique to skate, Peru Park has it. So that's something that you don't find in too many other skate parks. Next, again towards the back, you've got a collection of banks and hips with a camel hump, and you can see underneath that. So it gives you a little bit of almost like a pump track type of element to it. But there's plenty of options to air out on something like this and skate it like, you know, it's a true hip. So I actually think this is a lot of fun to skate, kind of like a fly box of sorts. So you can easily ollie over that, and the banks are pretty mellow, so you don't feel like you're getting out of control if you don't normally skate. All right, the next part of the park is this 90-degree angle kind of arcing quarter pipe that is about 5.5 or 6 feet tall, maybe closer to 5.5. And you can see here that the coping was stamped concrete, and so it's not quite like pool coping. And what Hunger is now doing with most of their skate park designs is they're actually making true pool coping as opposed to shaping it out of concrete. So this is something that you won't see it in their more recent parks, but exists in some of their older parks. And then you've got this little hole to carve over as well if you feel brave enough. It's actually pretty easy to do this, so good opportunity to learn. And then, you know, again, we're kind of mixing a bit of a pump track section. So this is more of the pump track section. These are roughly 3.5 foot tall hips, and you can just, you know, go over these again and again and just enjoy riding around. And then finally, this transitions into like a 3/4 bowl where you do have this almost like a mini ramp type of element to it, but 4 foot quarters on either side, and then kind of a point towards the top with bold corners around it that you can skate. So you do have a couple options for different lines if you like skating transitions. Last but not least is the volcano that does have hips to it, but this is kind of one of the key elements of any Hunger park, is they like to put a sculpture or mosaic or some kind of art piece in, And so you see this up at the top, the signage to just indicate that it was built in 2014, and then the mosaics towards the top as well. So you'll definitely see these a lot at hunger parks, and as I walk around you see all the different designs of the snake, and then hunger skate parks towards the back there. All right, so that does it for this skate park tour. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions about the park, just let me know in the comments and I'll get to that later.